I told Mr. Williams that I think we're winning the trial and we should go to verdict. But he told me I can't wait another 3 months if there is any possibility I could go home because I have children that are hurting.
I want to say sorry to my family, my mom. My mom got 11 kids. I can't say all their names, my managers, my kids that's not here. I hope that you allow me to go home today and just trust in me to just do the right thing and never see you again. You find it in your heart to allow me to go home and be with my family and just do better as a person. I know what I...
So essentially, the total sentence is 40 years to serve the first 5 years in prison, but commuted to the time that you have already served, followed by 15 years on probation.
The Young Thug YSL trial is now over. The rapper is being released after accepting a plea deal in the YSL trial.
Mr. Steele, Mr. Adams, Mr. Williams, where are we? Ready to go forward? All right. Y'all coming up here to the podium. All right, Sergeant, can you swear in Mr. Williams?
Raise your right hand and you swear firm testimony you give to the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. That's your name, first and last. You might tell first and last. Jeffrey Williams,
Jeffrey Williams, JEFFERY WILLIAMS.
Lawyers believe the emotional Young Thug speech that he gave inside of the courtroom to the judge and jury is what led to him even beating the case, as Young Thug would first describe the type of guy that he is to the jury and judge, explaining that he truly is sorry for everything that he's ever done.
Anything that you want to say?
Yes, ma'am. I take full responsibility for, my crimes or my charges. I want to say sorry to my family, my mom. My mom got 11 kids. I can't say all their names, my managers, my kids that's not here. Really everybody that got something to do with this situation, I want to say sorry for just having so much time invested into this, and I am a smart guy, I am a good guy, and I really got a good heart, I find myself in a lot of stuff because I was just nice or cool, and I understand that you can't be that way when you reach a certain height because it could end bad.
As Young Thug would even further continue on with his speech, making everyone cry inside of the courtroom, including his family and friends.
I hope that you allow me to go home today and just trust in me to just do the right thing and never see you again unless it's at a bar in the future or something. Just out of this type of situation, I promise you I won't ever be in this type of situation again. I'm going away. I've learned from my mistakes. I come from nothing and I've made something and I didn't take full advantage of it. I'm sorry. Through these last 2.5 years of my life, you are really, truly, honestly, the best thing that has happened to me because you made everything fair for me and everybody involved on both sides, I'm sorry to the sheriff, everybody for just having to put extra time in. I know y'all got paid more money, but I'm sorry for y'all having to put this extra time in to be away from y'all family, and I just hope that...
He would then end off his speech by speaking on what he has truly done for the community. Sure, Young Thug may not be the greatest human of all time. He's definitely committed a few crimes here and there, but he has done free concerts that have raised millions of dollars for communities that truly need the money.
You find it in your heart to allow me to go home and be with my family and just do better as a person. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I am. I know the heights I've reached. I know the impact I got on people, period, in the community, all people. I learned that late like these past 2 or 3 years of my life, I kind of learned that late, and maybe it was because I was, probably on or anything, I don't know, but I have came to my senses and I understand what I mean to this world. But I am a good guy, I don't mind doing stuff like, free shows, and I always did that. I did free shows and gave it to single parents, millions of dollars. I made $1.8 million on a free show, and I gave it all to single parent charity, and I did.
But to understand Young Thug's release conditions, you first need to understand how he accepted his fate and even allowed to have a plea deal be entered into this courtroom, as the plea deal is what determined his entire future. As it was announced, the state is recommending that Young Thug is sentenced to 45 years with 25 years to serve inside a prison.
And Mr. Williams, were you aware of the state's previous offer that was turned down prior to your making this non-negotiated plea?
Yes.
All right. And Your Honor, at this time, the state is making a recommendation of 45 years with 25 to serve in custody, followed by 20 on probation, subject to the special requirements of 1615 the gang statute.
But if you know anything about Brian Steele, Young Thug's lawyer, this deal would never happen under his roof. Brian Steele would end up rejecting the offer right on the spot. The state would counteroffer with a deal where he can even be home today, but it still wasn't enough for Brian Steele. A report would read, he could have come home today if he accepted to a previous offer, but he did not agree to the special conditions. In the counteroffer, it had special conditions, meaning Young Thug actually had to return to the YSL trial, but this time to testify against other YSL members, where he also had to accept that YSL is a street team that commits illegal activities. And Young Thug, he didn't want to be labeled a rat.
Would have been released today for 15 years on probation. If he successfully completes that probation, then he would not have to go to custody. If he did not, he'd face probation revocation as well as 23 years, as the court said, backloaded in the Georgia prison system. But we could not come to terms on all the conditions that the district attorney was insisting upon.
Okay.
With it looking extremely rough and sour for Young Thug inside of the courtroom, there's only one man that could have saved the day. Brian Steele ended up rolling the dice on Young Thug's future. Not accepting the second initial plea deal, Brian Steele would announce to the courtroom what Young Thug is willing to accept. As a report would read, Young Thug pleads no contest to the RICO count and the gang leader count. The rest, he pleads guilty.
Count one, which is the racketeering conspiracy count, Mr. Williams is tendering a plea under nolo contendere. As to count 56, which is participation in a criminal street gang activity as being a leader or a supervisor or organizer, Mr. Williams is also tendering a plea to this honorable court as under nolo contendere. The balance of the counts, so he is tendering a guilty plea.
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
would the court like to hear from the state or not?
About the NOLO issues?
Yes.
Sure.
Your Honor, the state asked that the court not accept a NOLO plea and require either a guilty plea or a not guilty plea as to these charges.
All right. I'm going to permit a NOLO plea as to counts 1 and 56.
All right.
Young Thug would not testify against any YSL member. That is not even in question. But Young Thug did announce himself that he does need to take some sort of plea deal. The trial was not even supposed to end, but sadly it was announced. Young Thug's lawyer says Thug insisted on this because he couldn't handle 3 more months of his kids being upset. If there was any chance he could come home today, his lawyer told him they are winning the trial and he was okay with either decision.
For almost 2 years since we did our jury selection initiation on January 4th, 2023, Mr. Williams been sitting in a jail since May 9th, 2022. This is 2.5 years waiting for the conclusion of the state's case and a verdict from the jury, and that's why he is tendering this plea. I'm telling the court this, and the court knows when you came out the first time, it's very hard for Mr. Williams. I am not supportive of what we're doing right now. I'm not against it. But I told Mr. Williams, you okay with me saying that?
Yes.
I told Mr. Williams that I think we're winning the trial and we should go to verdict. But he told me I can't wait another 3 months if there is any possibility I could go home, because I have children that are hurting.
The judge knew that Young Thug was extremely emotional, especially because he was basically rolling the dice on ever seeing his family ever again. This is when the judge would tell everyone to sit down and be quiet. She would have her verdict on Young Thug's future, and she would end up giving the sentence to him.
So essentially, the total sentence is 40 years to serve the first 5 years in prison, but commuted to the time that you have already served, followed by 15 years on probation, followed then by the backloaded 20 years, which can be served in custody and will be served in custody if you are not successful on your probation. If you are successful in completing your 15 years probation, that will be commuted to time served.
This is then when it was announced Young Thug is officially released from jail. Everyone in the courtroom was extremely happy. This even then led into a post-game interview with Thug's lawyer Brian Steele, explaining how Thug is doing now.
As far as how Jeffrey's feeling now, he knows my feelings, which I'm not going to reveal for attorney-client privilege, but this is not the same as a not guilty verdict. That should have been rang. But nobody here wakes up every day on a concrete floor that they're calling his bed, gets up at 4:15, gets shackled at his feet, his waist, and his hands, comes to the Fulton County Courthouse to be on concrete, eating out of a bag. Doritos is his meal of choice. And then coming to a courtroom and sit there with a leg chain on him every single day and hear lie after lie. So for Jeffrey, go home today and not have another 90 days or 120 days of it, he is very happy.
As Brian Steele explained, Young Thug wasn't even treated as a human. There was a lot of things throughout this entire trial that should not have been allowed to happen to Young Thug or anyone else, which feels extremely similar to what 4-2 Doug said about Thug in the trial, where it feels like someone had it out for him the entire time, and it feels like they want him forever.
Have you been tapped into the YSL case at all, and how do you think that's been?
I've been trying to watch a little bit.
Do you think it's being mishandled?
I think it should have been dismissed. The shit with the judge that just happened was
that just happened.
Crazy, like trying to send his lawyer to jail. From the outside looking in, it's looking like they got something against him.
However, this ended up getting the attention of Boosie. He would go on to explain to 4-2 Doug that just like when YNW Melly was received a mistrial, he was sent back to jail. There's one reason for it, and it's because when the feds want you, they'll try any way possible to keep you forever. However, Brian Steele ended up saving Young Thug's life, and they couldn't keep him anymore.
Now they're putting you more charges on him, and then
when they want you, they want you. I knew they wanted him bad when they waited for that law to get passed. They waited all the way.
Penalty.
So it'd be 8-4.
Oh right, yeah.
You know, they waited all the way till that law got passed to take him to trial.
Yeah, he was in jail for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, they could have been took you to trial.
You're right.
They waited till that law got passed and took him to trial a couple months later. When they want you, man. Just don't see how he didn't get a bond after a fucking mistrial.
Yeah.
That made me like, God damn.
Yeah.
Like after a mistrial, that doesn't happen really.